Jeremy Wu, Sports Illustrated NBA draft analyst, has a mock draft out. The draft coming up in the month of June, and we've got a name around here that everybody's buzzing about, and that is Kevin Huerter. We followed his career at Shen, followed his career at Maryland, and Kevin is on a short list of players who make a big impression in NBA scouts and GMs at the draft combine, but still, they're going to make a decision for themselves. Is he going to the NBA, or is he going to go back and play one more year at Maryland? Jeremy Wu has a good handle on all of this and more, and we welcome him to Big Board Sports on 104.5 A Team, ESPN Radio. Jeremy, Roger Weiland, and Chris Honorado in Albany. Good morning.
How you guys doing?
We're good. Jeremy. We are trying to piece the puzzle together. We're not getting a whole lot of cooperation from anybody in the Huerter family because they're just trying to figure it out themselves. So we're not getting a lot of information. But what can you tell us about Kevin Huerter, and what does your mock draft indicate?
Yeah, as far as I know, Kevin hasn't made up his mind. I know that, he was mulling in college for sure coming into the week. I think he has to think about it hard because I think with the way that he played at the combine, he was, really, I think, able to show off, his full skill set. At Maryland, sometimes, the team was kind of up and down this year. But guys already liked him coming in, and I think he's sort of reaffirmed, his ability to shoot it. And, he's playing with an injured finger, so that's even, a little bit even more impressive. I have him in the first round. I think it's still sort of a range of outcomes for him, but I do think that he has to think about coming out this year. If he goes back next year, I think he's still looking at the first round. But it's always sort of, with the way that the draft naturally works, it's like if you're a first rounder now, you got to think about it.
Jeremy, you have him going in the first round. What team do you have him going to, and why?
Yeah, this is just projection, but I had him at San Antonio at 18, and that might be a little high. I don't have a great feel exactly for, what the range is, but I think it's probably somewhere between there and 30. But, that just, seemed like a fit. I don't know if they have, direct interest in him or not. But, I think with the way, the way he can shoot it, I think I like about him is, he's really a guard, not really just a wing. He can handle it a little bit. He can really pass it. And I think, that will appeal to a lot of teams.
Sports Illustrated's Jeremy Wu with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. Check him out on Twitter, simply at Jeremy Wu. Jeremy, is Kevin Huerter a potential lottery pick if he goes back? The reason I'm asking is because, in my mind, unless you're going to be like a top 5 pick, it makes sense to look at something like your mock draft and say, boy, I would really fit into the San Antonio Spurs system. And so even if it's at 18 and not top 12 or top 5, even better than that, I may be more interested in that scenario, seeing a second NBA contract coming to fruition as opposed to cashing in all at once towards the top of the lottery.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for that. I mean, if you're going to not be in that top group, you tend to fall into a range where there are teams that are more competitive at the moment. Teams that sort of have, Spurs are a good example of a team that's obviously established, right? So, I think there's something to be said for, again, if you're coming out in the first round, you're going to get a guaranteed deal. If you're not a guy who's going to be a top 5 pick, if he goes back, I think he'll have a shot, maybe at the late lottery. But sometimes the difference can be marginal when you look at, the potential to start your free agency clock a year earlier. Right. If you look at it from that perspective, then it's something to think about.
What do you think he should do, Jeremy?
It's always tough, because with players, we don't know all the details of their, family situation and what the plan is. But I think with him, it doesn't sound like he's being pressured into anything. It's up to him. I mean, if it were me and I were a first rounder now, I would probably come out. But again, I don't know. I don't know what the situation is entirely. So
let's move on to Villanova because Joe Cremo left the University of Albany and went on a recruiting rampage and ended up landing at Villanova. And I'm asking that I throw his name out there because Villanova's Dante DiVincenzo also made big strides at the combine. Do you expect him to come out? And if so, obviously that would be good news for a guy like Joe Cremo, who's looking for playing time in his final year of college eligibility at Villanova.
I think the buzz, from what I've heard from people around the league, is that DiVincenzo is leaning towards coming out. I would not be surprised if he does at this point with the way that he's played. And he was really good at the combine, and just kind of a dynamic player. He tested very well athletically, which is not surprising. But again, it's a case where he already come in. I think people already liked him. He obviously played well in March, but if you watched him all season, Dante has a lot of things going for him, and I think he reinforced that, and he played both days and showed out really well. So, I would expect him to go. Cremo, I don't know as much about his game, but I've heard good things about him as a potential sort of like a sneaky guy for next year. So I would expect him to have a big role.
Yeah, and obviously Joe athletically is not Dante DiVincenzo, who can really kind of jump out of the gym and surprise some people with his springs. But I'm with you, Jeremy. I mean, look, the kid's stock is never going to be higher than what it is right now. So if he goes 20 the way you have him in the mock draft, fine. But I can't imagine another year at Villanova is going to vault him any higher than that. Let me take you to the Knicks here, and they have a top 10 pick, obviously, again, the number 9th overall, and you've got them taking Mikal Bridges from Villanova. Why is he a good fit for New York?
Yeah, the Knicks sort of, I think, with Porzingis there, you know that he's going to be your star. If you're in that range at 9, I don't think you're necessarily going to find, a surefire star. So it's like, they have a few things to weigh, but, having a need on the wing, a guy like Bridges, who I think is a pretty safe pick to, become a player who's going to have some use, I think it's something they're going to look at. I mean, the Knicks can go in a few different directions, I think, at that spot. I think, either one of Trae Young or Colin Sexton will be there, if not both. And, with Frank Ntilikina sort of playing more off the ball, I think they'll probably look at both of those guys. Miles Bridges will also be there, I think. Kevin Knox's name might be there. So, they have some options. But I think for now I have Bridges there just because I think that, the Knicks just need to get going in the right direction. I think he would be sort of a guy who can sort of slot into the rotation.
And Jeremy, last thing here, is DeAndre Ayton a slam dunk, or are these is this smokescreen stuff that Luka Doncic may not leave Europe right away for the NBA and that his stock may, in fact, be sliding?
So I think Ayton's number one, but I think mostly because he, to me, is the best prospect in terms of just pure talent. Phoenix is sort of in a position where I think it would be, they've sort of had some success in the draft. They have a lot of talent. It hasn't all panned out, and they kind of need to make sure that they're getting it moving in the right direction this year. And so I think Ayton is the best route to that. With Doncic, I think part of it is also, maybe trying to steer him to a team he likes. I think that, I would be surprised at this point if he did go back. Like, it's the same thing, why would you not just come over and start now? But I also think, Luka, their Real Madrid season is still going. They still have to finish up the playoffs in the Spanish League in the ACB. So, it's like any college player. If you ask them in February, are you going to the NBA, they're not going to tell you. I think it's probably more like one of those situations.
And nobody wants to go to the Kings.
Not even Jimmer Fredette back in the day, right?
It didn't work.
One of our guys. We got a lot of guys here. Jeremy, appreciate you popping on for a few minutes. Kevin Huerter was a big local story here, and you shed some great light on that situation, and we do appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.